Yes.
Is it that clear?
No, it's okay.
So these are the areas we were supposed to discuss yesterday, but then internet messed up everything and we had to end our lesson abruptly. So I guess you studied the notes very well and you have at least a hint of the information that is put in there.
Yes.
Yeah, so we said we're supposed to look at texture as a visual element, how texture contributes, and how texture qualifies to be called a visual element of graphic design. Of course, we had begun by defining texture, and then we looked at the uses of texture, the types of texture, and then we had to look at the case studies on how texture can be used in different pieces of graphic design. I remember I even shared with you the notes and I put a few case studies just to give you a glimpse of how texture could be used. So I hope you remember the definition of texture.
Yes.
Can you remind me the definition of texture?
A texture is the way a surface feels or is perceived to feel.
Oh, that is wonderful. So I guess you understand it. You understand that definition very well.
Yes.
That it is simply the way you see the surface, how it feels. Okay. Of course, you are by when you look at the surface, whether it is the surface of a table, whether it is the surface of the wall, whether it is the surface of cloth, whether it is the surface of a rod. By you mere looking at it, you should be able to perceive a certain feeling inside you. You should be able to tell whether it is smooth, whether it is rough, whether it is a hard surface. Okay,
Yes.
all those assumptions come into your mind depending on the way you feel that texture looks like. So your sight communicates with your mind, and then you should be in position to perceive how that particular surface that you're looking at feels. Of course, if it looks rough, your mind will always sense that possibly that texture must be a rough texture. The kind of texture you are looking at, you define it by the way you perceive it. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah, so we looked at the different uses of texture, but on a graphic design point of view, I know there are so many uses of texture, but here specifically we are looking at texture, analyzing it from the graphical point of view, like as in the way texture contributes to graphic design. How is texture used in a graphic design? So that's what we basically try to point out, where we talked of texture being able to create a visual tone, being able to influence the look and the feel of a piece of graphic design. And then we also said texture can either attract or repel interest to an element. So if you use the texture, the choice of the texture that you decide to use in your artwork will definitely perform two roles. It will either attract somebody's interest or repel or chase away. The other way I could use it to chase away somebody's interest. Yeah, so the choice matters. The choice of the texture that you use, it matters a lot. Okay?
Mario. Mario.
Are we together?
Yes.
So we saw types of textures, and
Types of texture.
yeah, and I was so amazed the way you try to make some research, and you were
Image
even,
text.
yeah, you were able to recognize some examples of image texture and also pattern textures. That definitely gave me an understanding that gave me an understanding that
Yes.
you know the difference between image texture and the pattern texture.
Yes.
So, of course, in summary, we had said image texture is generated from a combination of organic or geometric shapes and color. You combine either organic shapes and color, if not geometric shapes and color. When you combine the two, then you should be able to come up with what we call an image texture. Okay?
Yes.
And most of the time, I see image textures being portrayed on carpets. There are these carpets that people use in their houses. Okay? So
Yes.
most of the time, it is either a combination of organic shapes and color, if not geometric shapes and color, in order for somebody to come up with that beautiful texture that is portrayed on a carpet that attracts somebody's eyes. You know, most of the time, ladies, they believe that they are the ones who know how to choose the right carpet to be put in a house. They believe gentlemen don't know how to choose them.
Yes.
But they don't know that they claim like that simply because their sight is captured by the texture that is put on the carpet.
Yes.
So the person behind the capturing of somebody's attention, somebody's interest, it is the graphic designer who used his or her creativity to come up with that particular texture that is printed on that carpet that the so-called ladies eh, prefer to
Yes.
choose. So it's basically the texture, the combination of those shapes, either geometric shapes or organic shapes. They are the ones which capture somebody's attention, of course, together with the color. Color
Yes.
also plays a great role. By the way, what's your favorite color?
I don't have.
Now remember.
Like for it. I
There is,
maybe black. I love black. I love black.
we said black is not a color. Black is a universal
Oh.
color. So I expect you to choose from warm colors or cool colors.
Let me see.
If even me, a gentleman, I have a favorite color. Now, what about you, a lady?
For me, I don't have. I don't know. It depends. Any color which looks good on me, that's my favorite.
Of course, it
But
looks
I
good.
like I like dull colors.
You like cool colors or dull colors?
No, warm colors are the ones which are dark, not so.
No, warm colors are the ones which are shouting.
Which are bright.
Yeah, the ones
Cool
which
the
are
one
bright.
which are
The cool
yeah, I like
colors are the ones which are dull. Colors like blue, colors like purple,
mm,
and yeah, basically, even me, I'm a fan of a dull color. Purple is my favorite color.
purple. Yeah,
Yes.
I see. Yeah. You use a lot of purple.
Do you know why I use a lot of
Yeah.
purple? It's because it is my
Yes.
favorite color and it is also a
Yes.
brand color for Sharptech as a company.
Oh, you were selfish.
No, I'm not selfish. You know why?
No,
Look at the logo. Look
the
at the
logo.
logo of Chapter.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
there,
There's red. Yeah.
there is red and that sky blue. So
Mm.
imagine I'm not a fan of the key colors which are there in the logo. Because by the way, when it
Mm.
comes to branding, a company must have
Mm.
maximally three colors.
Mm.
Yeah, a company must have three colors. There is a primary color, a secondary color, and
And
probably a tertiary color. So here with the
mm.
sharp tech, you realize that red is our primary color.
Mm.
And then purple is which color?
Purple. It's the secondary one.
It is the secondary one. And then this sky
Mm.
blue is the tertiary color.
Color. What about the gray one? The
Gray.
A and the star. Yeah, that color.
Actually, that is gray,
Mm.
but it is not a major color. It is not,
Mm.
even if you are to look at any artwork done for Sharptech, that
Mm.
gray was supposed to be like black to become like
Mm.
a universal color. So we
Yes.
don't use it so much. But
Mm.
most of the time we use those three colors, the red,
Eh.
purple, and the that sky blue.
Sky blue.
Yeah,
Sky blue is a combination. It's not a primary color.
yeah, it is a tertiary color.
Oh, it's a tertiary. Yeah.
Yeah. So most of the time when we are designing work for Sharptech, we play
Mm.
around those colors. And
Mm.
most of the time I prefer purple to be like a background. Then the text I play around with red and the dark sky blue.
Mm.
And then even the shapes I
Like
can play around with color red and that other color.
mm.
You don't worry.
Color red and
When we learn what we call branding, you'll understand
mm.
what we call branding, how branding
Color.
is done, and then how you choose color theme for a company.
Color.
All those
Mm.
things we shall talk about then. Okay, let's
Inshallah.
continue. Let's continue. So we are
Mm.
saying image texture can be
Image
simple,
texture. Oh,
complex.
complex.
Yeah. So you can
Mm.
have an image
And
texture when it is just a simple texture.
mm.
But at the same time, you can have one which is complex. Now, the one which is complex must have very many, a combination of very many shapes and the color.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
But generally, they appear random to create a particular
Yeah.
look. So whether the texture is simple or complex, the main
Mm.
the main idea behind coming up with it is to create a particular look and a feel.
Particular text.
Somebody should look at that texture. Somebody should look at an artwork which has that texture, and then
Mm.
that person should look at it carefully, and then the person should develop a certain feeling
Mm.
immediately on looking at that particular texture. And then we are saying the image texture
Mm.
tantalizes the senses. Are we together on that statement?
Tantalize. I don't know.
To tantalize, of course, the word
Mm-hmm.
to tantalize means to excite somebody's senses or somebody's
Mm.
desires.
Mm.
So what I'm trying to mean there is the moment you look at an image texture, if it is a nice image texture, it should be able to excite your senses. You should become
Mm.
excited.
It because of its uniqueness.
Yes, the uniqueness and the way it appears, the way those shapes appear randomly,
Mm.
there's a way it should ignite your
Mm.
senses. So
Mm.
And we are saying the eye likes to look at the image texture because of its structure. Most of the time, the image texture keeps on pulling your eye to look at it because of the structure, the way those different shapes have been arranged together, the way they have been mixed up with the different color that you have applied to bring out the beauty of the texture. Okay? Yeah.
Yes.
And we are saying, can you please help me read that statement?
You can't see anything in particular in it, but all in all, it triggers your attention.
Yeah. So whenever you are looking at texture, the image texture in this situation, okay?
Yes,
Most
yes.
of the time, you may not be in position even to recognize what particular thing you are seeing in it. But most of the time, that texture should be able to trigger, it should be able to capture your attention the moment you look at it. Okay?
Yes.
Are you okay with that statement? Have you understood it?
Mm,
That you can't see
yeah.
anything in particular. Yeah. When you look at, sometimes when you look at an image texture, like this one,
Like
like this
like
one,
the whole the oh, pardon me. First, go back where we were.
to the statement.
The background of this statement, is it the same stuff we're talking about?
Yeah, of course.
I can't say anything, but there is a text there's a texture there. There is something.
Yeah, there's a texture, but you may not be able to see it. You may not be even be in position to say that, yeah, this is a particular thing in this background. But trust me, as you are looking at it, there's a way it triggers your attention. There's a way it keeps pulling your eyes towards it.
Yes, as if yeah, there is. It
Okay.
it belongs. Yeah, the background. It's one
Mm,
of the image texture.
yes.
So
Yes.
this one, okay.
Yeah. So let's continue. So we are
Mm.
saying the image texture can be, so it is subdivided.
Mm.
Remember we said these are the types of textures. We have image
Yes.
textures and pattern textures, right?
Textures.
Yeah,
Yes.
those are types. But then when we
Mm.
come to image texture
Itself.
can be environmental, okay,
Biological. Yes.
biological, and man-made.
Mm.
So it means there are
Mm.
textures which can be or which can be found on the normal environment. They reflect the
Mm.
environment. When you look at a texture, a particular texture, you should be able to reflect, you should be able to have an imagination of an environment.
Mm.
Then there are those which are biological, and then there are those which are
Mm.
man-made. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is the breakdown. This is the
Mm.
breakdown. Under environmental
Mm.
textures, we can have something like
Mm.
wood, we can have something like sand, we can have something like water, we can have something like
Mm.
stone, the sky.
Like soil.
Uh, okay, yeah. So
Yes.
when you look, of course, when you look at a texture like this one, you should be able to depict that. Possibly this is a texture coming from
Mm.
wood, not so.
Mm. Yes.
When you are able to look at this, you should be able to detect that this could be a texture, this could be an
Mm.
image texture
Mm.
coming from the sky
Clouds
or
or
the
sky.
clouds. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
this one, you should be able to detect that possibly this is the soil or sand. Okay.
Mm. Yes.
And
Yes.
then this one could be maybe a stone, a texture only coming from a stone.
Yeah. Or
Okay.
like the ground.
Yeah, or the bare ground.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether you are relating environmental textures to those different items that we have looked at. These are just a few examples, just to give you an idea. When it comes to biological textures, we can have things like the skin, the fur. Okay, have you ever seen the fur on the body of a sheep, on the body of a pusscat? Okay,
Yes. Yes.
so such things can give you what we call an image texture. And then we have feathers.
Man-made.
We have things like feathers. Okay, we have things
Yes.
like the animal
Leaves.
print, the leaves. Okay, all those are biological textures.
Texture.
And then when it comes to man-made textures, of course, we have things like paintings. Okay, we have things like illustrations. We have papers. We have photographic effects. Okay,
Yes.
and then you should be able to come up with what we call a man-made texture.
Textures.
Of course, like a painting is basically made by a human being. You can get a brush and a paint and then you design something. But at the end of the day, your design, your painting will give you what we call a texture. Hello?
Yes.
Are we together?
Yes.
So these are environmental image textures. So I just wanted to bring them closer. As you can see, I think they are more clearer when we look at them from here. They are the other very textures that we saw. These are, I've just picked out environmental image textures. And then these are biological ones. And then these are man-made image textures.
Texture.
Okay?
Yes.
Can you read this statement?
Because of image textures, abstract nature, with the ability to trigger feelings, emotions, and excite the senses, image textures can be used to add a distinct
A distinct visual tone.
a distinct visual tone in a piece of graphic design work.
So that word distinct, let us replace it with the word unique.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
yes.
So we are saying because of image textures, because of image textures, abstract nature. Okay. Because of the there, I'm going to replace the word abstract with attractive nature. Because of image textures, attractive nature with the ability to trigger feelings. Okay, so that means the nature or the appearance of image textures, okay, because it is so attractive, okay, it is also able to trigger somebody's feelings. It is able to capture somebody's emotions the moment somebody looks at a particular text.
And excite the senses.
And after triggering somebody's feelings and the emotions, somebody's senses must become excited. Okay? So image textures can be used to add, we said, a unique visual tone. Okay?
Yes.
So if you want to add a unique visual appearance on your piece of artwork, then it would be very, very advisable that you should find ways of putting image textures as part of your design. So if you are a graphic designer who wants to trigger somebody's feelings, you want to make someone to become excited, okay, by just looking at your work, then it would be better that you incorporate a unique, image texture to be part of your design, such that it can be in position to capture somebody's attention. But of course, it depends. It is not that every artwork you design, you have to put what we call a texture. There are particular pieces of artwork where you don't need to put a texture. So as we are designing later on, like when we are doing branding, we shall understand which pieces of artwork don't you need to have a texture, and which ones do you need to have a texture. So it means those ones where you will not need a texture, there are particular unique elements that you can use. And remember, we are looking at these elements here. We are looking at these elements. These are the elements which most of the time you are going to be using when you're designing. But again, it doesn't mean that you have to use all of them. You can use some of them, okay? You can choose some of them, and then they are the ones which you use on your piece of artwork. Okay, like let me just open. Just in the morning, I designed something for the other guys of Wava. This is what I Wava. Yeah. So let me just open it, and then when you look at it, I did not use what we call a texture completely, but they appreciated the work. They loved the work. Are you seeing it now?
Yes.
Yeah, this online series. So you realize that I just selected a few elements, a few of the other elements we were talking about, the lines, the shapes, color. Okay. I just picked some of them, and they are the ones I used here. So it is not a must that you have to use what we call texture. You don't have to use all the elements. You don't have to use all the elements that we talked of. Okay. Yeah, so you have to mind about which kind of work are you designing, okay? And what elements are usable, or what elements are applicable. Because all these are graphic design elements, you don't need making sure you use all of them. You can use maybe 2 or 3 or 4 where necessary, okay? This here we are just trying to understand that most of the time when you are doing what we call graphic design, you will always play around with these elements.
Yes, the visual elements.
Yeah, they are the visual elements which will make up your piece of artwork. Okay, like when you look at here, basically I have shapes. Okay,
Yes.
just what is bringing the beauty is basically shapes and color. Have you realized? Otherwise, if I removed that color and I removed these shapes, the work would appear as if it is boring, not so.
Yes.
But now to trigger somebody's mind, someone who is looking at it, you just need to apply the color and then those different shapes. Of course, you play around with the shapes to give you the beauty or the uniqueness of the artwork. Yeah. And by the way, as you are doing design, okay, depending on who you are designing for. Now, to design something like this one, you can begin charging someone at around 20,000, some 15,000, some who don't have the money, you can ask for like 10,000 from them. Yeah, but Me, most of the time, I start from 20,000 and above. If it is a company, big company, even I can ask for 100,000, even 150.
Mm.
And if you are designing work for people from abroad, now the language
Mm.
changes. You start speaking of dollars. And by the way,
Mm.
people from abroad give more money
Mm.
than people from Uganda. Because, for
Mm.
example, in Uganda, when they want you to design a logo, the cheapest you could tell someone to design a logo. This, you see, like this is
Mm.
a logo. This
Mm.
is a logo, okay?
Mm.
The cheapest
Yes.
you could tell someone to give, someone to pay you to design a logo would be 50,000. It's the price which most designers in Uganda charge. But you tell you'll find,
50.
yeah, 50,000.
Mm.
Is it much or it is little?
I don't know what it takes to design a logo.
When you look at this logo, first and foremost,
Mm. Mm. Mm.
you realize it is a combination of shapes, not so.
Yes.
It's a combination of geometric shapes and
Mm.
organic shapes, not so.
Yes.
So what it takes, basically, you need to understand from the client, you need to understand from the owner of the logo, what message
Mm.
does the person want to communicate to someone looking at the logo? What
Mm.
unique features does the person need? Now, like this
Mm. Mm.
logo, the owners told me they want to show, because WABA is like a youth, it is a Christian youth organization where the youth
Mm.
come together, they discuss the relationship issues, they discuss those Christian religious affairs,
Mm.
how to date, and then how you
Mm.
can see like a topic like this one. They are going to discuss this topic, the kind of person
Mm.
you should be.
You
So
should be.
they undergo a lot of those Christian things. So they told me they wanted to show love, or
Mm.
unity.
Yes.
So it means you
Mm.
have
Yes.
to you have to bring in a character of two human beings moving together, or two human beings
Mm.
holding each other, of course, to show
Yes.
what we call love. And that is exactly
Mm.
what I try to do here.
Mm.
Okay, if you have learned the software, the design software very well, and now like a
Mm.
person like you who did art, you are at
Mm.
an added advantage, because you, trust me, you can sketch something like this on a piece of paper, then you scan, then
Mm.
you just trace it using the software, using the
Mm.
design software. So it is not
Mm.
something so difficult, but of course, somebody must, those guys have to pay you. They have to
Mm.
pay you for
Because
the,
they're going to use it for some time. It's not that they can change it
this
whenever
logo.
they want.
This logo.
Yes.
A
Yes.
logo is a permanent thing, but of course, some companies sometimes want to rebrand, then they can think of changing. But a logo is something, it is a unique identity. It is like a school badge. A logo, by the way,
Mm.
serves the same purpose like your school badge. The
Mm.
school where I studied, my high school,
Mm.
I studied my high school from Mora High School.
Mm.
Eh,
Yes.
But Mora High School is more than 100 years old.
Mm.
That school was built by the missionaries.
Yes.
My dad studied from that very school.
Mm.
Telling
Mm.
you the badge that my dad had on his uniform when he was at school is the very
Mm.
badge I wore in my uniform. And it is the
Mm.
very badge which is still there right now. So
Mm.
you realize that with a logo or a badge, you don't always have to keep changing. It's rare for companies or institutions to change a logo or a badge. Very rare.
Yes.
So a logo is like a unique identity of a company or an institution.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it should be expensive.
Yeah, it has to be expensive. Only that in Uganda here, people just play around with designers. People play around
Mm.
with designers. That's why
Yeah,
I
I'll
advise
buy all
you,
of it. Mm.
I advise you after
Yes.
you learning very well, there towards the end of this course, I will show you online platforms where you can
Mm.
start posting work and then people will start hiring you to do work for them. Abroad, people from abroad, people from other countries, people from UK, people from US, people from New York, people from Australia. You do for
Mm.
them work and then you send online and then they should also be able to pay you online.
Mm.
Yeah, so they send you money either through MoneyGram or Western Union. If not, they put it directly on your bank account. If you have a bank account on a bank which is an internationally recognized bank like Standard Chartered, Barclays Bank, uh,
Backlife. Mm.
Barclays. Barclays was Barclays by the way has rebranded. It is no longer called Barclays. It is now called ABSA.
Mm. Absa.
Yeah, ABSA Bank.
I don't have an account. Maybe I'll get
Of
one.
course, later on, after you learning the tools, you open up an account, and then even if you don't have an account, you can begin with those who can send you money by through Western Union or MoneyGram.
Money. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know. Mm.
So the advantage of doing work for those outside customers is
Mm.
pay. I'm telling you, those guys
Eh.
they pay good money.
Mm.
They value the service. Unlike
Mm.
in Uganda, where they will tell you, I want
Mm.
you to design for me a poster, and then someone tells you, you request for 20,000, someone starts bargaining. You know, in Uganda, most people have bargaining.
Yeah, I also bargain.
So expect your clients to also bargain. So when you're charging them,
Yeah.
if you have an aim of asking for uh, around, if you are targeting to get like 50,000, then
Mm.
you must begin at around maybe 80,000. Then
Mm.
when they try to bargain, you drop up to around 70 or 60 or 50,000.
Mm. Mm.
I was amazed, even this course, some of your colleagues were bargaining seriously. And yet, in normal terms, by the way, if COVID is not there, this course,
Mm.
you would pay beyond 800,000.
Mm.
But I just organized like a lockdown offer. But still,
Mm.
however much we had slashed the fees,
Yes.
Ugandans were bargaining seriously. Otherwise, actually, if I hadn't, I had not remained persistent, if I was willing to add just on the training fee, I would have very
Mm.
many people, more than 100. There are some
Yes.
who wanted 100,000, some 200. I said,
Yes.
ah, God.
Mm.
You can't learn a professional course like this one at that fee.
Yes.
Because
Mm.
by the way, if you are good, if you are learning
Mm.
very well and you are understanding things, you
Yes.
can even start earning as you are studying.
Mm.
You will start designing
Mm.
simple things like flyers, posters for people.
Mm.
As you are learning, for me, that was my experience. When I was learning,
Mm.
I started designing for people work before even completing the course. So I would love you also to earn. And as you are charging, you have to, of course, what they are paying for your service, but they are also paying for your time and your skills.
Mm.
Right now,
Yes.
right now you are spending money to buy data, you are spending your time, you
Mm.
could be doing something else. So those
Mm.
guys who are going to give you work, they will have to pay for all the things you are injecting. Things like time, your knowledge, your data. That's why, by the way, that's why you are supposed to charge money. Otherwise, if you are doing work for free, then even the knowledge you should have got it freely, and you shouldn't be bothered of the time you spent learning. Yeah. So let's continue. We had gone a little far. So we have looked at the three, okay? And
Yes.
now, yeah, I think even this we looked at. So we're supposed to head to pattern texture. And we said it is also generated from a combination of still the same organic or geometric shapes in the color. Okay?
Yes.
So with pattern texture, you just realize that it is one item, one or two items repeating several times in order for you to come up with what we call a pattern. So like when you look at this particular pattern, there is only one shape. There is only one shape, one geometric shape, which is this one. But it is duplicated, it is repeating several times. And then because it is repeated, then it gives you what we call a pattern. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah. So patterns can be simple also or complex. But unlike image texture, that generally appears random, pattern texture appears more structured. Like when you look at this one, you really see that it appears more structured because you are even able to recognize that there is one shape which is repeating. Not so.
Unorganized. Yes.
Yeah. Unlike the image texture, whereby sometimes you may not be able to recognize exactly what is on the pattern. Not so, what is on the texture. But when it comes to a pattern texture, you should be, because of the structure of the pattern, you are able to recognize that there is one shape which is repeated several times and it is very organized. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what we are saying here in this statement. So when it comes to pattern texture, we also have examples. We have biological and environmental. They are combined together here. You see here. So these are environmental, okay? Like this one here
Yes.
is a beehive, the comb which is found in a beehive, okay? You can give a pattern. You can see these are real shapes which are conjoined together. Not so. These are flowers, but they are giving you a pattern. Not so. Are we together?
Yes.
Yeah. And then we also have man-made pattern textures. Man-made, just like the way you understand, they are created by man. Okay? So it depends on the creativity of man. So like when you look at this one, there are lines and then there are shapes. Not so.
Yes.
You can see this one has around 3 items. It has there are 3 items, but they are repeated. Okay? There are 3 items, but they are repeated. And then you remember this one, we looked at it. You look at this one also.
Which one?
This one where I'm pointing
Oh,
at.
I
Yeah.
was looking for that.
You are looking for the cursor.
Yes.
Is it here?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Uh,
Yes.
so these are man-made. And even you, as a person, with the time, you should be able to make something like this. Actually, we are going
What
to.
about the one I did? I was confused. Like it wasn't that I tried, but I think it belongs in this type of texture, not so.
Let me go to WhatsApp. Let me go to WhatsApp, and I get yours. Let me see. Let me see. Okay, so
Mm.
let me share it. Is it the one? I see.
Yes,
Yeah, so
yes,
this is a good example of a pattern, not so.
yes.
You realize that you have the circles, and
Mm.
then there are these lines which are slanting.
Mm.
Okay, so this is another example of a man-made texture.
Mm.
Okay,
Yes.
a man-made pattern texture. Okay,
Mm. Mm.
yeah. So let me go back. Let me go back here. Okay, so you can always practice how to come up with a man-made pattern. Okay, and
Mm.
then later on, when we are learning, by the way, these things we are learning, some of them we are going to do practically using a computer. But it is better
Mm.
to begin by practicing, by drawing on a piece of paper, such that
Mm.
your work will be just to implement. Your work will
Mm.
be to implement coming up with a texture like this one on a computer, coming up with a
Mm.
texture like the other one you sent on WhatsApp on a computer. How do you do it when you are using a computer?
Mm.
Those are the things we are going to do practically.
Mm.
Okay?
Yes, inshallah.
Okay. Uh-huh. What are we saying there?
Repeating information of shape and color will result in pattern texture.
The key word is what?
Repeating
Yeah.
information.
The moment you keep on repeating the information
Mm.
which is there on a shape, huh?
Mm.
the very way,
Mm.
the very way you were repeating, the very way you were repeating this, okay?
Yes.
The very way you are repeating this, you realize that you are repeating the same information, because what I can see here is what I can see here. What I can see here is what I can see here. So you realize that you are repeating,
Mm.
the same information on a
Mm.
shape, not so.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we
Mm.
are told that repeating the same
Mm.
information of a shape and color,
Mm.
okay, will definitely
Yes.
result in the creation of a
Of
pattern
pattern
texture.
texture.
So that means whenever you want to come up with a pattern texture, you only have one main thing that you need to do.
Mm.
Identify one symbol, identify one shape, okay?
Mm. Yes.
Identify one shape and a color, and then just repeat. Repeat
Mm.
it several times. Trust me, when you repeat it several times and then you arrange it properly on the
Mm.
surface where you are creating, where you are repeating it, then you will
Mm.
come up with what we call a pattern texture.
Pattern texture. Mm.
Okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Then we are saying repeating a logo in a
In a
formation. So repeating the way that logo is formed, okay,
Mm.
will
Mm.
also result in coming up with what we call a pattern.
Pattern texture.
Yeah. So pattern texture also tantalizes the sense, but in a different way.
Mm.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So of course, when you look at a pattern, when you look at a pattern
Mm.
texture on a design, it should also be able to trigger your attention. It should be able to pick up your interest. Okay? So we are saying patterns trigger our visual senses rather than emotional senses. So patterns capture our sight more than our emotions, more than the way you feel. Meanwhile, when it comes to image textures for them, instead, they capture the emotions. They capture your feelings more than the what? More than the visual senses. Are we together? Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we are saying that patterns trigger our visual senses rather than emotional. Of course, emotional senses, I mean feelings, your feelings. How do you feel when you look at something? That's what we are talking about. The reason why that happens is because patterns are more structured and less abstract.
Yes. Like the pattern I did.
Yeah.
When someone says my pattern will be like, yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, by just mere looking
Yes.
at the visual
Yeah.
aspect of it.
But not emotionally.
But emotionally, somebody is not triggered that much.
Yes.
Okay. Then
Yes.
a pattern is more about visual recognition due to the shapes that repeat themselves. You understand that statement? I think it is clear.
Yes.
Okay. What are we saying there?
And it is because of this why parent texture is used and works well as decoration.
Because of this, that pattern is more about visual recognition. That's
Because of
why,
its visual recognition.
yes, that's why we
It's
are
used.
saying a pattern texture should be used and it works well as decoration. So here we are having now case studies when it comes to branding, okay? When it comes to branding, of course, I told you we are going to look at branding as a topic. But in simple terms, branding is coming up with different pieces of artwork, which are used to communicate on the behalf of a company. So branding contains things like coming up with a brand logo, brand colors, brand documents like a receipt book, an invoice, coming up with a stamp, okay? Coming up with the attire like t-shirts, shirts, jumpers. I think you have ever seen some companies having jumpers.
Yes.
Some even have umbrellas. Some even have capes. All those are brand items. Whenever you see somebody wearing a t-shirt, somebody wearing a shirt of a certain company, just know that that is t-shirt or that shirt or that cape or that umbrella is one of the branding items the company is using to market itself. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I usually see there are at times MTN printed t-shirts with the word "Ask me about mobile money." Ask me about mobile money. So MTN, on its branding strategy, they looked at a t-shirt as a very good item to extend that service of mobile money to whoever needs it. So what they did was to print a t-shirt and then they put there that statement that asked me about mobile money. Of course, when somebody wearing such a t-shirt is moving in the community, if somebody looks at that person's t-shirt and reads those words, trust me, if somebody needs to know more about mobile money, the person will reach that particular person. The person will approach that particular person without even the person who is wearing that t-shirt starting to talk. So the t-shirt talks on his behalf. You get the point? So when it comes to branding, patterns can create a very unique look and feel, and because of its repetitive nature, brands can use this visual element to decorate and make people remember their brand or company. So like when you look at this, these are some of the artworks I've ever designed for this company called Motive. When you study these two pieces of artwork properly, you realize that they have a pattern somewhere. They have a texture somewhere. Have you seen it?
Yes.
Where is it?
The boxes.
Yeah, on this one. This one has got pictures. However, look at this item here. Are you seeing it?
Yes.
Do you see on this other artwork, this one?
Yes.
So that is a texture or else a pattern, okay? That this company uses as it is brand identity. So each and every artwork that I design for these people, I must include this. Reason being,
Is it a logo?
no, this is their logo. This is their logo. The logo is up here.
Oh, then what's that?
But now this particular item here, this brand is using this brand. They want to make sure that the moment people get this pattern in their minds, what comes into their minds, they should think of Motive as a company. So what I, who designs work for them, have to do is I have to make sure this thing becomes common. It is common on any piece of artwork that I will design for them. Even if you visit their website, you will find this pattern there. Even if you visit their Facebook pages, you will find this. It is available there. So they want to use it as a brand visual identity. You can see this heading. Here, a pattern is in use as a brand visual identity. So they want this pattern to be the one to help people to identify their company. Yeah. So they want, whenever someone thinks of Motive, this thing should come into their mind. Just like the way you see for MTN, they decided a color to be their brand identity. That's why you see the moment when you see yellow, yellow color comes, what comes into your mind is you think of MTN. If not, you think of NRM, not so. Because you know those are the two main entities that are using yellow as their brand color. So you either think of, in politics, you will think of NRM. When it comes to any other company that could be, when it comes to red, of course, you know that is Airtel. And in politics, you know that is Nope, not so.
Yeah, Airtel.
Yeah. So you realize that this company, for them, they are not interested in using a color. They don't want to use a color as their brand identity. Okay?
Yes.
But they want to use this pattern as their brand identity. Okay?
Yes, the identity.
Then another case study is gift wrapping. Have you ever asked yourself why gift wrapping paper is mostly patterns rather than just a single image?
Yes.
Huh? What answer did you answer yourself after asking yourself this question? Why do you think
Rolex. Which, what do I think?
I'm saying,
Let me. Yes.
why do you think do most wrapping papers, why do they have
Yes.
patterns
Pattern.
rather than a single image on them?
To attract.
To attract
Yeah. To attract people's attention.
to the gift which is inside, not so.
Mm.
This is the main reason. It is because of the repetition of
Of
bright
bright
colors.
colors and images which excite people's visual senses and make them feel the value of the hidden gift in the sold gift box or bag.
Yeah. Of course, the moment someone sees something which is shining,
The birthday gifts.
aha, and that they are wrapped properly, somebody becomes so excited. But of course, what excites is somebody's senses. It is the visual outlook of the wrapping paper.
Mm.
You know that people most of the time even start imagining, they start deriving imaginations depending on the nature of the wrapping paper, which is on
Yeah,
the gift box.
the brightness of the wrapping paper.
It
The way,
makes them feel so special. It makes them to imagine that there must be a very special gift inside the gift box or gift bag.
yes,
But all that is capable to happen because of the bright colors and the images which are there
yes,
on that wrapping paper.
mm,
So right here, you can see
mm,
how these wrapping papers are really looking like. And they
yeah,
essentially, when you look at these wrapping papers, when you study them properly and critically, you'll realize that they have textures on them.
yes, pattern textures.
Mhm.
Mm.
So
And this one,
most of them have pattern textures, and a few
mm,
have image textures, but a majority of
mm,
them, and actually the nice looking ones have mostly
pattern.
pattern textures.
Mm.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So we are coming to the end of our session, and we are saying those are a few ways you can use texture in your design. And you are reminded that all in all, the main
Mm,
aim is to capture the attention and then
mm,
to trigger somebody's emotions. That's the
mm,
main reason as why you have to use an element like a texture in your design.
mm,
Your main aim is to capture the attention. For example, when you look at this wrapping
mm,
paper, trust me, you are
mm.
going to capture somebody's attention very fast. And
Yes.
then the moment you capture somebody's attention, somebody's emotions will automatically also change. Someone
Mm,
starts imagining, somebody starts deriving
mm.
imaginations. Hmm?
Getting getting excited.
Aha, you get the point. But all what
Mm.
brings those two things to happen, it is just a pattern, which is properly placed on a wrapping paper.
Mm,
Okay.
mm.
So I saw even you attempted this assignment. You
Yeah.
attempted this, which was good.
Mm.
So you are using a phone the entire session of this lesson.
Yes.
Then I think what I should always be doing, I'll be sharing the notes a little earlier, and then we discuss it. So even if we are using a phone, it is okay. Because it will get when you have read through the notes. Maybe I can be sharing the notes maybe early in the morning before I start lectures with other guys. I share the notes.
No, you share them after the lesson, after here. I take my time
Hey.
and copying, yes.
Okay. But these ones you have already copied them, not so.
Yes.
Okay, so I just have to share the ones of tomorrow. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Otherwise, that brings us to the end of that particular segment. So we hope to continue from there. But I've loved the connection. You were so clear on the phone. Maybe we shall have to resort to using a phone. But then I'll have to share the notes earlier, such that you can take your time and go through them. Then by the time we come online, I'll just be explaining and you'll be asking questions on a particular area where you didn't understand the notes.
Yes.
I think that approach works better.
Yes, it's okay. How about when you reach to do practicals on the lab?
Practicals, when we reach that, the way I've planned, when we reach practicals, there are two approaches that I'm planning to do. I'm planning that we shall be using still online, but sometimes some concepts I will have to record lessons. I do something, I record the video lesson as I'm doing it on the computer, then I send you a video, then I can even elaborate it on Zoom. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, thank you very much for today. I came in a little
Thank you
late,
too.
but I think we have learned something.
Yes.
Okay, please. Kale, have a good evening.
Likewise.